Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om, salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Happy Father's Day. And I thought it would be appropriate to quote a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita related to father and fatherhood. Pita hamasya jagato mata data pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksam yajurevacha. The Lord says, of this world, I am the father, the mother, the ordainer, and the grandfather. I am the knowable, the sanctifier, the sacred syllable Om, as also the Rik, Sama, and Yajur Vedas. I am the fruit of all actions. I am the nourisher, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the friend. I am the origin and the end of all beings, as also the foundation, the storehouse, and the imperishable seed. That is fatherhood. Pita silokasya characharasya tvamasya pujasya gurur gariyan natvat samostya bhyadika kutonya lokatrayepya pratima prabhava. Arjuna, at the end of his vision of the cosmic form of God, he is shaking with fear and he is praising that same entity that he saw. You are the father of all beings, moving and non-moving. To this world, you are worthy of worship. You are the teacher and greater than the greatest. There is none equal to you. How at all can there be anyone greater, even in all these three worlds, O you of unrivaled power? Therefore, by bowing down and prostrating myself, I seek to propitiate you. You who are God and adorable. O Lord, you should forgive my faults, as would a father the faults of a child, as a friend of a friend, and as a lover of a beloved. Om, peace, peace, peace. The topic of discussion today will be the nature of superconsciousness. It is one thing and one of the best things that you can ever have in life is concentration. All knowledge is the result of concentration. And the world has progressed because it has concentrated its powers. The results, as we know, have been astounding. So this is something that one strives for. There are differences in minds, obviously. In fact, the variations are more marked amongst minds than bodies. And we see that concentration is the difference between minds. The power of concentration is also related to the power of success. If you can concentrate, you become unstoppable. Of course, the mind in its sattvic form is easily concentrated. And that concentration can last for a very long time. In a mind that has got predominantly rajas, it can, because the commentators on the Yoga Sutras also speak about that the mind can be concentrated on different things by different people. So even in a mind that has got a Rajaguna, you will find that they can concentrate. But the commentators on the yoga philosophy says that the duration of the time for concentration is equal or even more than the duration of the restlessness that follows. And in the tamasic mind, it's sloth. But a tamasic mind also can concentrate but on negative things, on envy and anger and hate. Oh yeah, they can really, it seizes them. When we speak about concentration, it's concentration. It's actually the entire, not just the mind, the entire personality is involved in it. Your body, your senses, your mind, your vital forces also. Because if you notice, when you concentrate, you breathe very slowly. And sometimes you feel that your breath has stopped. That's an indication of concentration. So your entire body becomes still and your breath almost kind of stopped. Your eyes are focused, and that is concentration. These are the external signs, of course. So we see that part, we don't see the entire sequence that led to that moment or the minute of concentration. It is practice. The habitual practice makes the mind concentrated. And the word used in the scripture is one-pointedness. Like oxyacetylene flame. The more you can make that nozzle fine-pointed, direct that, you can say flame, the more it can cut through. If it's not, you can say fine-tuned, then it will just, the fire will just go all over the place. Swami Vivekananda, in the powers of the mind, he speaks about there came a time in the history of the people of India where they subordinated even physical sciences to the study of the mind and concentration. Yes, in fact, they found that the tremendous powers that lurked there, and that is accessible to everyone through concentration. And they experimented with food, with light, with clothes, with the different techniques. And today, what we get is the derivative of those experiments, which has become the yoga. But people know there's only one yoga philosophy. But actually, Patanjali was a compiler. He went around the country and took and studied the best practices amongst the practitioners. So what you get is a condensed form of the practices then, which are more than 2000 years ago. He went around and codified some of these practices, and what we get is the philosophy of yoga. But that's just one school. There are hundreds of schools who have been practicing yoga. Okay. So can the mind be concentrated? Oh, yes, sure. And the more you can love the object of meditation or concentration, the more you can concentrate. It's very easy. And if you don't love that, then you have to go through the mechanical processes. But as you keep on concentrating, it's inevitable you will develop love for that, and then the powers of your mind will get concentrated. It's very easy to concentrate on external things. Very easy, because the senses are outgoing and you can focus for a period of time. Maybe you're playing chess and see how concentrated you are. But this concentration is in a kind of a sequence. Real concentration is just pinpoint. It's not sequential. So that's the difference between internal and external. But if you can concentrate internally, then that same powers can be used to concentrate externally. But concentrating on external things will not give you the internal concentration, because it needs a little practice. So better than having a restless mind. So Arjuna's one complaint was talking about yoga, and then saying, you're talking about all these yoga, high sounding words, but my mind is restless. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. My mind is restless. And not only that, it's obstinate. It's powerful. And it's not amenable to any control. And controlling that is like as difficult as controlling the wind. It's just an impossibility. The scriptures also give the example of, the mind is like a maddened elephant. That's one of those. If you've seen some pictures of, or you can see some clips of elephants running amok, you get an idea. That's the mind. Shankaracharya calls it like, it's like a tiger prowling around. He uses the word. In the forest track of sense pleasures prowls a huge tiger called mind. It's just devouring. The Buddhists, of course, call it the monkey mind. And Swamiji goes further. See, the mind is restless, like a monkey. If you've seen monkeys? Oh, you want to see these monkeys. You should have great fun with them. But if you tease them, they get annoyed. You try to imitate them. I had a brush. In India, in one place, almost on a daily basis, I had a brush with them. So I know the mind is like that. Oh my God, like crazy. And then you say, suppose that monkey has become drunk with the wine of desire. Then you know what it is. And if that monkey now gets stung by the scorpion of jealousy, now you know what it is. And then a demon of pride enters into it. That is the mind. So, oh my God. Punishing the mind through kind of self-torture defeats the very purpose. Because all those restlessness is for a while just gone subterranean. It will bounce back. So that's not changing your environment. Okay, this place is kind of ridiculous and restless and it's disturbing. Let's go to some other place. But you're going along with your own mind. The only alternative is to face the mind. And that is something a lot of people don't want to do. Somehow they can't face their own personality. Because it's sometimes it appears nice, so I'm a nice guy. But then sometimes, and that's the reason why people get dissuaded when they are coming to face their own, you can say, mind. But if you persist, then it's there. Now, when you talk about concentration, we forget the other fundamental step that leads to concentration. And that is controlling the energies. Because concentration requires fuel. That fuel comes through the accumulation of all these energies that you have. So it's like if your mind is weak or it's like low energy, what happens is you start repeating yourself. You know, your creativity kind of goes down. So very difficult to have any kind of concentration in this mind. The Bhagavad Gita also says, Nasti buddhira yuktasya, etc. The person whose mind is not under control has no knowledge. And no meditation either. Without meditation, one can have no peace. Without peace, how can one have happiness? Concentration always has to have an object. Inevitably, because there is something called the person who concentrates, the act of concentration, and the object of concentration. Later on, all these three divisions kind of dissolve in the highest of concentrations. So what do we concentrate on? On our own consciousness, on our own self, our own core, our being. Or if you take the case of concentrating on symbols or divine objects, or that which has been given to you as an object of concentration, one has to use that. Otherwise, concentration is impossible. I mean, not impossible, but it's that kind of concentration is reserved only for the few elite concentrators. So, as I say, concentration is one-pointed, ekagram. So, in the Upanishads also say, drishyate grahya buddhya. That is seen through a sharpened, you can see, one-pointed mind, the Atman. And that which has become subtle, sukshmaya, by the seers of subtle things. So as your mind becomes one-pointed, subtle, is gathering all its energies and focusing them, the mind attains to that kind of subtle perception. That is concentration. So you can say, when you say the mind, the default mode of the mind is to have thoughts. You notice when you have no thoughts, the scriptures also go and say, you can say there is no mind. The mind, as we ordinarily understand, can exist only with thoughts and feelings and willings and this and memories and all the stuff that you have put inside. So there are these various waves in the mind, likened to a wave. So these waves are there. All these waves have to be quelled, and there's one wave has to be made prominent. And slowly all the energy of all these smaller waves, they kind of coalesce, or they kind of gather into making this one wave prominent. So this is concentration. You use the powers of the mind, gather them, pull them, and focus them. Many people, they practice meditation, they practice concentration, but actually they are practicing only what is called the preliminary stage again. So when you control your energies, the next step is to draw in the senses and the mind. So it's called, technically in the yoga philosophy, it's called pratyahara. Just pull them in. So it's like a tortoise retracting its limbs. That is one example. Or you can say, Swami Vivekananda gives the example. Suppose a cannonball, in those days, of course, we had this big ball. Now we don't have cannonball. Suppose the cannonball flies from the cannon shot, and it goes a long distance, its energy is dissipated and falls down. Suppose the flight of the cannonball is cut by a wall. So it strikes the wall, and what it does, it generates intense heat. So all outgoing actions, when they are pulled back, they generate that power within. So the mind bubbles through these gates of the senses, dissipates, drawing them in is the way. So as I said, the mind now starts accumulating energy. Otherwise, when you notice, when you are feeling tired, a thought comes and you can't push it away. It keeps on repeating itself, whirling, looping around. So the mind repeats itself. It keeps on repeating and imitates the same old thoughts and feelings. That's the mind. It's a very conservative, you can say, entity that you have there. It doesn't want to budge a little. When it is weak, feeling weak, let's do the same old things again. You did that yesterday. So what is that? Good. Let's do it over and over again. But it's boring. Oh, no, it's good. Keep on doing it. So that discovery, that creativity, which also lurks in the mind, that is quashed. So there are so many great things in the mind. That is just left. So in Vedanta, I'll give you a little about Vedanta and then I'll go to yoga. Vedanta, the preliminary disciplines, everybody wants to be a Vedantin. Everybody. There's such a glamour about it. The philosophy is so watertight. You can't bring any argument against it. You can, but then it's dismissed. And it's so simple, But the preliminary steps for the even the study of Vedanta can deter even the stoutest of souls. So technically, I'll give you the steps towards it. First is called Shama. Shama is curbing the mind from going to the objects. Dhamma is controlling all the senses and keeping them restrained. And then after that is done, don't let go. It's called Uparati, holding them all in check. See, Swami Vivekananda gives an example. It's easy to let go of the reins and let the horse run. It will run amok. It may take you down in the ditch, of course. Which is a greater manifestation of power, to let the horses run or restrain them. Obviously, restraining them. That is what is called uparati. Then the next step, the fourth one, is endurance. It's called titiksha. The tremendous power that's generated, and you can endure anything. The endurance is there. Then comes concentration, samadhana, of the mind that's restrained. And then we have the last is faith. Faith in the words of the Vedanta. And once you have this instrument with you, these are called the 6 gems in Vedanta. If you have that, then you can be a Vedantist in the true spirit of it. So the mind is like a ping pong ball, running about, being hit about. And actually, our minds are in the hands of other people. Somebody says a nice word, and look at me. And somebody criticizes, oh my God, I can't eat that day, I can't sleep that day, oh my God, how miserable I feel. To get all your mind in your own control, in your own keeping, that is very important. The world is always full of distractions. Its job is to distract you. You want to concentrate? No way. Come, I'll distract you. And the world has found innumerable ways to distract you. The distractions are either from external or from the internal, old memories. So illustration is given like oil poured from one vessel to another. It flows in a stream. That's a flow of the mind during concentration. The scriptures also say, when you concentrate, you become one with the object of concentration. We'll explain that later. So, you can distinguish the two. The object of concentration, the concentrator, and the act of concentration as it were fuses. Okay. The Bhagavad Gita also gives the example of a flame held in a windless place, still. So this is the illustration of a mind of a yogi. Otherwise, even the slightest breeze can make the candle flame flutter. So, yesterday I was saying, something called a sticky mind. And the mind sticks. But in this case of concentration, it's like a lump of dough. Wherever you throw it, it's going to stick. So that's a sticky mind. Not on external things, but internal things. And it stays there. So concentration is for spirituality, this is the only way. Okay. When we do anything, we can deplete our psychic energies. When you're stressed, when you're anxious, even any external actions that you do, you're dissipating your psychic energies inside. To curb them, to bring them in, is the way. Okay. So, I'll give what the Upanishads also say. The sense objects outside are higher than the senses. And that is saying what? The sense objects, these senses, are higher than the senses. Yeah, because they were made to reveal the senses. So what happens is, that was created, the external world was created before our bodies were created and the senses were created, so that we can experience the external world. So that's why they say that the sense objects, external world is higher than the senses. Then the mind is higher than the sense objects. The intellect is higher than the mind. And higher than the mind, the intelligence, is something called the Mahat, the cosmic mind. And from the cosmic mind, higher than that, is that unmanifest. There's a time when there's a stage in the whole scheme of creation where there's no energy, there's no matter, there's no mind even. It's called unmanifest. And higher than that is soul. So what happens is like you go in step by step within. You pull yourself slowly and slowly, and then you ascend these stairs. Like you telescope one thing into another and another. That is done through concentration. The other word is, they say that the organs are superior to the body. Because if you have a body, you have a perfect body, but you don't have senses, it's a useless thing. The mind is superior to the sense organs. The intellect is superior to the mind. And that which is superior to the intellect is that, the inner soul, inner self. So we know now what are the paths that concentration will lead us to higher and higher dimensions within us. The other is, the discerning person should merge the organ of speech into the mind, should merge that mind into the intelligent self, should merge that intelligent self into the great self, should merge that great self into the peaceful self. Yached Vang Manasi Prajna. That's, what some of these verses are so beautiful. You telescope one thing into another, higher and higher and higher. So here is saying, should merge the organ of speech, that is all organs, that's representative, in the mind, and the mind into intelligence, and that intelligence into the higher self, great self. So what happens is, from the individual, suddenly at one stage you transcend and become the universal. Because these categories mentioned are universal categories. And higher. So what takes you to the universal, to the all-pervading, the cosmic, is concentration. Pull one, you got in the higher dimension, pull back again, you go to the higher dimension, pull back. Then what happens? Do you hit the wall? No, you don't hit the wall. You suddenly leap out of your own, as I say, psychophysical personality and become universal. Okay. Now in yoga, the word yoga itself means samadhi. Now samadhi is, okay, go sit down, be oblivious. Yeah, in a way it is like that. But samadhi means concentration. People say, oh, he's got into samadhi. Yesterday somebody was saying, maybe he has gone into samadhi. I said, maybe that person has fallen asleep. I said, don't mistake one for the other. Because sleep is the opposite of concentration. So, Swami Vivekananda gives a fool gets into that concentrated state, samadhi, and comes out a sage. And another fool goes to sleep and comes back the same person. It's obviously the two are different. Since it's a vast subject, I'll just give you a brief, you can say, outline, a brief outline of this essential here. when we speak about the body and speak about the mind and speak about concentration, you must always remember that these three things, it is within time, it's within space, and it involves matter. So these three things are actually one. So, the mind runs according to certain laws, universal laws. And these are the laws of time, space, and causation. It's called Desh, Kala, Nimitta. It not only runs on these principles, these laws, but also the very material of the mind is formed from this. So its nature is to run into these laws. So all matter falls into these laws in the sense of they run according to these laws. You cannot find any material substance that does not obey the law of physical laws. Same way, the mind is made out of these things: time, space, and causation. And they will follow those laws. The first is, like I said, let's briefly. It's called first level is called savitarka. Don't worry about the technical, you can say, definitions. Concentration in this type of, you can say, on this stage of spiritual development is done on an object repeatedly. I concentrate repeatedly on this object and I attain that. At the same time, I have isolated this object from all other objects. What do you mean? How is that possible? As I said, time, space, and causation are the three principles or the very material of the mind. By repeatedly concentrating on one object over and over and over and again, I must be able to isolate it from all other, because all memory, mind works again according to the network. One thought is linked to the other, and this second is linked to the third. So when I remember this, the second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth thought, they all rise up. This is what is called, the logicians spoke about in India, Nyayikas, Vyapti. One wave gives rise to a series of waves. So this is not an ordinary concentration. You must be able to isolate it from all other related thoughts. So you are now breaking that law of causation. But you are still within time and space. The next stage is nirvitarka. You can now concentrate on that same object, and yet you have eliminated time and space. So you are in a way divesting your mind and transcending it, divesting your mind from other thoughts and all the other principles that go into forming that mind. So remember, first is an external object. External, I mean not that. The object is in the mind. As you keep on concentrating, it is within time and space. So you isolate it, break the laws, the chains of causation, and you can concentrate only on that object. The next stage is you have broken time and space also. So this, don't worry, this is the first stage in concentration, yogic concentration. The third stage is savichara and nirvichara. These are the two stages. Now, instead of a symbol or an object, what happens is you are now concentrating on the subtle constituents that make that object. Like suppose I'm concentrating on this picture. And I'm concentrating, I've learned to isolate it from all associated thoughts and again time and space. Now, can I concentrate on its components such as atoms or molecules or quarks? Oh no, it's not possible. No, you can. If you can, then you get to the third stage. It's a subtle, it's called a tanmatras, the subtle components that make up that object. That means you have gone deeper inside. But this third stage, you have still time and space. And then the fourth stage is the same thing is done by eliminating time and space. Like you can concentrate on this. Yeah, now concentrate on the atom. Let's see. Oh, how do I concentrate on the atoms and molecules and all these things? That's what actually yoga philosophy will tell you. This is the way. People say, oh, that person has gone into samadhi. Really? Has he gone through these stages? I don't know. If he hasn't, that's not samadhi. These are the lower forms of samadhi. So that person can concentrate on the subtle world that makes up this physical world. They use the word tanmatras. We can use the word, subatomic particles or whatever. Rupa can tell us something about that world. He's a quantum man. Then the next stage comes. All as you have gone deeper and deeper, you've gone into the subtle world. Now you meditate on the mind itself. You don't have any object now. The mind itself has become the object. The subjective and the objective mind, you are meditating on that. But all the Rajaguna and the Tamaguna and everything else has been eliminated. The mind is only in the sattvic state. The sattvic mind, meditating on the sattvic mind. The subjective mind, meditating on the objective mind. That is called sananda. Is the bliss that you get is immeasurable. Oh yeah, people want happiness. Learn to concentrate. Your body may not hold that kind of bliss. If the body is not ready, it might shatter, who knows. But then you have gone through these various stages, so you have made your body fit. Like suppose somebody tells me, you go and can you run a marathon? I think when? Today? Don't be silly. I'll collapse after a couple of miles. Give me a year and I'll be able to do that. So in 1 year, I'll kind of keep on practicing every day, push myself, and then maybe I'll do it, baby. So at this stage, the bliss, the joy is, like I said, immeasurable. You can't measure it. It's not that you don't get joy in the previous stages. Yes, you can. Slowly, as you're pulling back your senses, building up the energy reserves, you start getting joy. It's a kind of an intoxication. You'll feel as if, not drunk, I'm not talking about that, but you'll feel kind of lifted up. Like people say, walking on cloud 9. This is nothing. You're walking on cloud 99 when you start concentrating. Then comes even a higher one. How many? So there are these 6 samadhis, comes one after the other. It is called Sasmita Samadhi, Sa-asmita. You are now concentrating your mind, that the purified, the sattvic mind on your own Atman, the own self. It's called a Purusha in yoga philosophy. That's that which fills everything. You are concentrating on that. But defined by the sense of I. Now, this is not the ordinary I am the body, I am this, I am that. No. Asmita is one of the first evolutes of nature. Like, take for instance, like I have the feeling of I. You all have the feeling of, yeah, I am. That pure I am, I exist. And so does all living beings. Ask the dog, ask the cat, ask the plant also. It has try to kill a microbe, a bacteria. Try to see, it'll try to escape. It's that universal sense of I. And according to this yoga philosophy, it's one of the first evolutes in nature. And this I, the feeling of I exist, becomes universal. It is in all living things. So you meditate on that. The Atman qualified with this feeling of I exist. That is Asmita Samadhi. These are called the Samprajnata, with knowledge. So what do you get? Concentration gives you knowledge. The entire secrets of nature now are revealed to you. There is nothing that you do not know. You know the very foundation of this universe. How? You've been concentrating. By knowing one lump of clay, you know all the clay in the universe. That's an old principle in the Upanishads. Ekena mritpindena sarvam mridmaya vijnana. You know one thing, you know everything. You know the foundations of your mind. You know the foundation of all minds. You know the foundation of the universe. You know everything of it. Everything. And then there's another one. You go to the next higher one. This is called Samprajnata, Asamprajnata. So in this stage, the knowledge that comes in the previous stage, Dharma Mega Samadhi, that is, you become, by nature you become virtuous. You spread love and bliss wherever you go. So this is called Dharma Mega Samadhi. It's a tremendous state. And also something called Ritambara Prajna. Your knowledge is filled with truth. So concentration has led you to this truth. And whatever you do is true. All the great prophets of the world, where do you think they got their power? From this. Because they had got to the source of existence, truth, and they spoke. That's what made them what they are. And they got it to this. Only place you can get it. You cannot get it in the shopping mall, sorry. This is the secret. Then again, they're saying there's a higher one. Even these, they are called with seeds. And then as you keep on practicing and practicing, even here, yeah, who wants to come out and you know now the whole universe. And there's a higher stage you go, it's called Asamprajnata. That is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It's all people want Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So you just can go from the bottom and jump right up and say, I've attained that. No, you got to go through all these things. So this is in brief concentration, super concentration. So at every level, we can improve our lives and our work and our thoughts by concentration. The moment you start doing that, the quality of your thoughts and life and your words, everything will become better and better. Learn to concentrate. That is the key. That is the only key to a life that is satisfying, blissful, and free. This is the key to freedom. Om, peace, peace, peace. We'll take some questions. Okay. How Devendranath Majumdar could have applied these steps towards doing his job in the Girish Star Theatre. Oh, I thought somebody would have asked questions about what was discussed. How Devendranath Majumdar, which we had done in our Householder Disciples, could have applied these steps during his job. As I said, once you can concentrate within, if you have succeeded, you can apply the same powers outside also. So, but if you are a very good chess player, or you know, kind of a nice tennis player or something like that, and you can play for hours, but you tell, can you meditate for a few hours? Then you will be playing tennis or you're playing chess inside. Okay. So if you can do it internally, you can do it. You can, and that is what the secret of work. Swami Vivekananda also keeps on insisting that once you know the secrets of concentration, you can understand its great powers, its great potential, then you can apply it everywhere. It's not only you apply it only on the. So Swami Vivekananda says the knowledge of the sacred and the secular has got one do, concentration. So that is what it is. Okay. Is it possible that through meditation and purity of mind, all this is revealed naturally without concentration? Yes. Now Nancy, you said something that's really good. Yes, you can. You can. If through purity and to meditation and purity of mind, of course. Meditation means, of course, you see, always in the scheme of things in yoga, meditation comes after concentration. Concentration comes first, then meditation comes. So if you are practicing meditation, you are practicing concentration also. And then with the purity of mind, yes, the mind becomes very pure. Why? Because the concentrated mind burns away all the dross that is there in the mind. Suddenly you'll feel so light and so beautiful and so kind of elevated that you have dispensed with all this kind of old ghosts there sitting inside. All those things which have been troubling you. So that, yes, concentration brings you purity, purity brings you concentration, and it's a loop. You go through it over and then you can get all these things. Thank you for this question. So, yeah.
Kind of follow up, similar question to what we just asked. It seems like one of the issues or drawbacks with, or maybe a pitfall, if you will, of concentration, like a trap, if you will, is that you often concentrate by ignoring other things around it, and then so you think that basically what you've sort of learned through concentration ends up being very narrow and not sort of generally applicable. So what's the kind of balance between, I'll call it concentration with effort, and versus finding more of a more like effortless way of concentrating, if that makes sense?
Concentration with the question is, when you focus, you're isolating one thing from the rest. So it's kind of a narrow knowledge that you get. What about the other things around you? You don't get knowledge of it. But so that is the question. And then what's the follow-up of that? And
it seems if you contrast that with sort of effortlessness, when you're actually
Okay.
like meditating, it feels more.
yeah. So the effortlessness. So with effort and without effort. So when you can concentrate on one by isolating it from all the other objects, what you're doing is you're getting into the heart of that particular thing. You're knowing it. That same knowledge can be applied to all other things. As I said, after concentration, what happens? You're coming with fresh knowledge and you apply, and that's automatically to all other areas. It's like, I just quoted, you know one lump of clay, you know all the clay in the universe. Like, you don't have to go to the sun to know that it's made of helium, isn't it? Yeah, so there's helium here, so we know there's a spectrum here, there's a spectrum. So by knowing one helium, you can say the spectrum of helium here, you know what's in the sun.
So that secondary process that you're describing.
Yeah.
I guess generalizing it is that if you're doing it, is that instantaneous, or do you have to then kind of parse through that?
No, the follow-up question is it instantaneous, or you have to make an extra effort for that? No, it's instantaneous. So the example in the scripture is given like when you see one horse, okay, somebody tells you first time, okay, what's that? It's a horse. Oh, I see, it's a horse. The next day you go out and see something else and you don't ask, is that a horse? But the horse that you saw on the first day was white and this guy is a black horse. You're not going to ask, is that a horse? You know automatically it's a horse, of course. It's a black horse. And then third day you'll see a brown horse. You're not going to ask, what's that? Why? Because you know one thing, you can apply that knowledge. There are two aspects, and this has been discussed in great detail in Indian psychology. And later on, the Buddhists also, they took that same principle. There are two sides to every perception. One is the particular and the other general that surrounds it. So when you're concentrating on one thing, you get simultaneously the knowledge of the general also. It's called Savikalpaka Pratyaksha and Nirvikalpaka Pratyaksha. So the knowledge of one horse will give you the knowledge of all the horses in the universe. Every horse. You don't have to say, hey, is that a horse? You've seen it. You know it. So that. Secondly, about effortless concentration. That comes through a steady stream. One wave gives rise to another wave. Like I said, one wave gives rise to the second wave and the third wave and the fourth wave. All knowledge is linked. So this thought or this practice of concentration will give rise to the second old practice of concentration. And that it submerges and again emerges. That same wave hits the high and low in a sequence. Then it becomes effortless. If you can do that, raise a stronger wave, it will sink, again it will rise, it will sink, it will rise, it becomes effortless. So it's like, in India we have a lot of mosquitoes. Yeah. So it became instinctive for us. Something is kind of, we just hit it. We don't even have to look at it. It's gone. So, when you are consciously doing something, after a while it becomes a subconscious habit. That habit will take over. And then it becomes, as I say, effortless. So that is what it is. It should, like in any sport, any action, first is done consciously, and then the mind takes up that thing and runs through it. Because the mind also, it has its own kind of power. The subconscious will run to that. Then you will feel, oh, it's effortless concentration. Okay, try it out. Let's see, you tell me if you... Okay. I was wondering why the great prophets, examples such as Jesus, Muhammad, etc., who achieve this higher concentration, have different accounts of truth. They don't have, actually. They are saying the same thing, but it is spoken of in the clothes of culture and the time and the place. The language also makes the difference. Sri Ramakrishna says, all jackals howl alike in the dark. So all sages will speak that same word, but in different languages. And besides, you see, you must understand, the words spoken by those prophets are not the exact words that have been spoken with. Take, for instance, the scriptures, the Testament, New Testament, the Gospels. They were written much, 60, 100 years after Jesus lived and passed away. So what really were the words? We do not know. How many scribes wrote it down? And first it was written in Greek, from Aramaic, it was Greek and came down, and now we have it in English. So you don't go along with that, the dry bones of language. See the implied meaning of what they say, and you'll see they are speaking the same thing. Okay? When Bhagavan says Shraddhavan labate jnanam, is this Shraddha and higher degree of the Shraddha that is mentioned in parts also? Oh yeah. Yes. Shraddhavan labate. The person who has faith attains knowledge. That is another, thanks, it will be another kind of a seed of another talk. A person of faith. You know, it's always said, the faith that can even move mountains. If you don't have faith in the practices, you don't have faith in the words of the scriptures and the Vedanta or the Guru, you try as much as you can, it's not going to happen. So that's the reason why one of the 6 treasures is faith. Not faith in the sense of, oh, I'm so faithful to you. Swami Vivekananda says, better have faith in yourself. He's saying, if you have faith in all the 330 millions of gods, actually 3.3 billion gods, and if you don't have faith in yourself, there's no salvation for you. So he spoke about having faith in yourself, that what you're doing. So where is that Shraddha? Where is that faith? It's loosely translated as faith. Shraddha cannot be translated as faith perfectly. So it's a part of your mind, Shraddha. Because in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Shraddha, Ashraddha, Ri, Dhi, Bhi, Sarva, Mana Eva. So there also is saying faith, lack of faith. You can say shame, anger, hatred, all these are parts of the mind. So Shraddha also is. So it's, you can expand that to a great degree where you can get this concentration easily accomplished. So you think, oh, it's so difficult. It is difficult. But if you have this kind of faith, nothing is difficult. It becomes very easy. Okay, so thank you all. There's so many. We can, oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a question. And I'm not even sure I can verbalize it, but so I heard that this concentration, and and then you listed a bunch of steps to one-pointedness, and obviously it takes practice to improve the ability of one to move along that path. So how do you know where you are and what you should focus on?
Oh, first, the question was, obviously you need practice to go through all these things. And how do you know which stage you are, at what degree of concentration you are? So first thing is, even the yoga philosophy, the aphorisms say, Abhyasa Vairagya Bhyam Tan Nirodha. It's controlled by practice and detachment. That is the practice. Then how many years of practice? We don't know. So if you put in more energy, you can reduce the time. So it's always a case like, suppose I can walk from here to there in 10 minutes. The same thing I can cover that distance by running in half a minute. So is the distance important? No, it's your mode. So the more intense you are, tivra samvegana masan. That also is mentioned in the yoga philosophy, that success is speedy for the extremely energetic. So that's practice. How do you know? Oh yes, you will know. That's the nature of concentration, knowledge. You will know exactly where you are. You don't need somebody to tell you. And then we have these commentaries, these books. You can read them. Oh, this is where I have reached now. The next stage is here. Or if I have a guru who can tell you, you are at this stage. Be careful. This obstacle might come. So how to avoid that obstacle? To go to the next stage. But generally, I would suggest you rely on yourself. You will know yourself. Okay, I've reached here. It's always like.
One implication of kind of linking what you said earlier, but basically, you know when you're complete if through concentration you're actually able to generalize it to get to some sort of absolute truth. Whereas if you're partway down the path and you're unable to generalize it, you're actually only partway down the path. You're not actually on the other side.
Yes, because suppose it's like a tapering existence. You are at the bottom, the point, and you're slowly rising. So the cone, as a tapering like cone, you will get a view, not a bird's eye view. You will get a view only of this level. So as you keep on rising, the cone also keeps on expanding. You'll get a higher and higher and wider and wider. So as you keep on rising, your knowledge will be more comprehensive. So right now you're concentrating, you have knowledge only of your mind and your body and this and that. That's on the preliminary level. As you keep on expanding, concentrating, you will be able to understand, like Sri Ramakrishna used to say, you can understand the sounds uttered by animals and birds. They also speak. You will be able to understand that. Oh, really? Yeah. So right now, oh, the crow is cawing. Drive that crow away. There will come a time when you say, hey, that crow is saying this. Then you will know. So that is what actually it is. You will know. Otherwise, what's the point? Are you blind? You're going there and I don't know where I'm going. No. You're going with eyes kind of wide open. Yeah. I don't know. There was something like eyes wide shut or something like that. But you are aware of your surrounding. You know your knowledge will be comprehensive. Okay. We'll stop here for today. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Before we